Welcome to another top 5 with Kris 05, guys. This is gonna be the last top 5 for this meta, because tomorrow we are gonna be getting some huge news for what's about to come very soon. So in this video I'm gonna give you 5 of the best decks right now you could be hitting Easy Legend with, talk about their mulligans and win rates, as well as some general tips so you know what to expect with and against these top meta decks. We're also going to talk about all of the other best working archetypes for each individual class, thanks to HS Replay Premium stats, so you guys know what to be expecting from your opponent. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, a like and subscribe would be amazing, and don't forget you can hire some Hearthstone coaching. Now, let's get into it.
You are not prepared!
Before we get into the best decks, I would like to announce a huge giveaway I will be doing for my Raid channel. As you guys know, I have been enjoying Raid quite a lot, and I don't know if you guys realize, but this is not a sponsored video. Raid is not paying me to promote this game on my channel, so when I say I'm enjoying the game, I mean it. I know a lot of people talk down about this game, and yeah, it does have quite a lot of pay-to-win elements, but I myself have been playing this game for quite a while for free, and I have really been enjoying the journey, and I think you would too. And that is why I will be doing a huge giveaway for $50 straight to your PayPal for one lucky winner who downloads Raid from my download link and reaches level 35. Reaching level 35 takes like, what, 3, 4, maybe 5 days if you're really not pushing yourself, so this would give you a chance to actually understand if you really do enjoy Raid, and if you don't, well, hey, you have a chance to win $50 straight to your PayPal, so ain't nothing wrong with that. You could be spending it for Hearthstone, because the new mini set is around the block, you could be spending it for Raid, or you could spend it on gas money, I don't know, you do you. But yeah, the game really is awesome, the graphics are absolutely out of this world for a game you could be playing on your mobile phone, and the game is very deep. Like, I don't know if you guys understand how deep this game is, but you could basically build any of these champions in all sorts of different ways, like, Lady Mikage, for instance. She could be amazing for PvE content, she could be an absolute beast in PvP, and there's all sorts of different ways you could be building her depending on what you need her for. Right now I have her set up for PvE with a protection set, but if I want to start crushing on PvP with her, it's gonna be a completely different build. I will draw the winner as soon as my Raid Shadow Legends channel reaches 500 subscribers, which hopefully should be by the end of next month. So if you want to enter my giveaway, download the game from my download link, it's gonna be pinned in the comments and in the description, or you can use the QR code, and drop a comment below saying I installed Raid, and I will choose the winner from the comments that include that phrase. Just don't forget you also need to hit level 35. Now, let's get into the best decks. The first deck on the list is actually gonna be Menagerie Death Knight, and this deck apparently is killing it right now for the class, with the highest win rate from Diamond 5 to Legend, and a very amazing sample size to go with it too. These stats are from the last 3 days, so they're definitely pretty accurate, and you could be climbing with ease if you know how to play this one. This one plays out like a classic aggro deck, with the added benefit of being able to buff your board with the help of Menagerie Jug, which basically is 5 mana 12/12 if you manage to set it up properly, and 9 of that 12 damage actually can go face if your minions are ready to attack. We have a lot of tokeny stuff, including things like the Monstrous Mosquito, which is a beast, Mermy is a undead and a Murloc, Brittlebone undead pirate, Dreadhound undead pirate, all sorts of different duo tribes like this, and that definitely is gonna help you big time when it comes down to the jug. We also have extra reach damage with the help of Corpsicle, and you should be gaining a lot of corpses with this one. You could also discover extra things with the help of Frost Strike, and we even have Zephyrus in here for some extra added damage to the face in most cases, but who knows, you might even need it for board control. The Observer of Mysteries is definitely pretty annoying, and it's also a demon, so that helps. We also have things like Eliza, which does combo off obscenely well, especially if you actually drop her down with the help of Brittlebone, and that way things like Ghoul's Knight would be 3 damage each, which is absolutely broken. Horizon's Edge is also a ton of damage, and last but not least, the Menagerie Jug gives you a lot of extra stats. For the matchups, we can see things like other Death Knights would not be too cool for you, and Big Demon Hunter is slightly under because they do have quite a few good early game removals, as well as chip damage and healing with the help of their Ball Hogs, but everything else is pretty close to 50 or very much in your favor, except for things like Wheel Warlock and Spell Mage, but still, you should be climbing with ease with this one. As for the mulligan, going first, you are going to want to curve out with your good cheaper minions, and if you are already curving out with those, you might even consider something bigger, but apparently even then Menagerie Jug, it's not gonna be that amazing for you. Things like Brittlebone Buccaneer on tempo are usually a no-brainer as well, and if you're curving into Eliza, that also could be cool. As for on the coin, again, plenty of the same stuff, so mulligan accordingly. For other good Death Knight decks, this is the one I showed you, 60% win rate, 1700 games on this iteration, and another one with a lot more games, a little bit less win rate, again pretty strong. strong. Things like Hand Buff Death Knight are also pretty good and pretty cheap for that matter, like this is basically a free-to-play deck, and you could check out my guide about it. Things like Leech Death Knight are still pretty decent, but they are quite a bit slower. We also have different iterations of menageries. Space Death Knight is also pretty decent. It again has a good amount of control stuff, but also it's running a bunch of the Starship package, so you definitely have plenty of different options to be going for with Death Knight. On the number 2 spot, it's gonna be Tree Pally, and this deck indeed has been quite strong for quite a while now, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some changes to this thing soon, but maybe they are gonna wait and see how the mini set pans out and decide how the meta should be shifting afterwards. The deck is quite scary, and you could be doing some pretty broken things with Sun Snapper Lionessa very soon, like even as soon as turn 4 if you got lucky with a bunch of coins. And you basically run plenty of holy spells, so you can be discounting things like Flickering Lightbot. And obviously you know Lionessa does a lot of broken things with the holy package, with things like 1 mana Holy Glow Stick, with things like Divine Brews, that kind of stuff. It can be pretty huge. We also have Ursol plus Chaldrassil package, which is from where the name comes from, Tree Pally. And this way with Ursol you basically get to cast this thing 3 times. And with Ursol, you basically also corrupt it, so it becomes absolutely broken like that. Like being able to have like more than 10 damage from hand each turn like this, and also getting some very chunky cheap minions like this. Not very many decks can actually handle something like this. Speaking of decks that can handle this, let's see who does somewhat well against them. And apparently quick decks like Menagerie Pally do handle it well. Libram Pally if you manage to find one, like haven't seen a single one of those. Some of the rogues might be a problem, but everything else is pretty good. Going first, here's what you're gonna be looking for. You want to be curving out nicely with the cheap stuff, and the Flickering Lightbot can also be a pretty good keep. If you already have a good 1-drop, or even Ages of Flight, you could consider the Hand of a Doll as a good keep, the Ursin Maul could be decent, that kind of stuff. And again, on the coin, plenty of the same things. And in both cases, Lionessa apparently is not an amazing keep, so keep that in mind and don't get baited. For other good Pally decks, we're gonna have to scroll a while to see something different than Tree Pally, and we see all sorts of different iterations of this thing. But we also have things like Menagerie Paladin doing quite well, and I do have a guide about it on my channel if you want to give it a check. There's also other somewhat similar to the Tree Pally decks, which are basically called Drunk Pally, I think. They don't run the Chaldrassil package, but they still curve off into Lionessa. So that's something to think about, but as you see, they're not doing as hot. Yeah, Libram Pally apparently is also a deck, 54% at 1300 games, not the worst situation in the world, but it's definitely not as strong as your other options. On the number 3 spot, Zerni Priest is still wreaking havoc to the meta, and this deck has been quite strong for quite a while now, so I would be expecting it to go under the chopping block sooner rather than later, unless the mini set actually does handle it somehow. But yeah, right now this is one of the best iterations of the deck. We have been seeing plenty of different versions of this thing, and you probably can't go wrong with either of them, but this one is opting for a couple of Ancient of Yours, single copy of Repackage, and the rest really looks pretty standard stuff. You got your good cheap dragons with the gift wrap and the ship's Churgeon, the peddler is super amazing, scale replica fishes out your stuff nice and good, fly off the shelves is super good to actually deal with early game aggression from some opponents, Illusory Greenwing I really like in the deck, Xavius can also be pretty strong, Tormented Dreadwing definitely helps you get your key dragons sooner rather than later, and the discount can also be kinda cool. And yeah, the way usually this deck pans out is you want to be playing preferably 5 dragons at least in your first 6 turns or 7 turns. And on turn 7 if you have the coin, or on turn 8 if you don't have the coin, the combo is you basically drop Neralex, you go with a Sarah which gives you free extra mana for only 1 mana, and you get to drop a couple of Briarspawn Drakes, and if you did manage to play enough dragons, you also get to play Zerimi, even though that is not actually needed in most cases if you've actually chipped the opponent down to something like 20 health, and there's actually something for the Briar Spawns to attack into. The deck is super hard to play around, and it's basically turn 8 waiting room for them, so if you don't manage to do anything Da Vinci up until that point, you're probably screwed. Again, I do actually have 2 guides about this deck with 2 different iterations, one's with a coaching session, other is in Top Legend, or Top 1000, I don't know what the hell I'm at anymore, but yeah, you can get the picture a little bit better how it plays out. We can see things like Menagerie Death Knight, Crewmate Demon Hunters, some of the Pallies, a lot of the Rogues, and several of the Hunters would be a problem for this deck. And also things like Fishing Priest might be a little bit too quick, but yeah, if you're sick and tired of losing to this thing, Rogue might actually be the answer with several different decks, and you saw who else does somewhat good against it. Mulligan-wise, you do want to be getting your good early game dragons, and if you're gonna have to go for a spell, I'd say Scale Replica is the best. I would not straight up hold on to Birdwatching if I don't have already at least a good 1-drop, but if you do, I guess it's okay. And if you're curving into Narrowlex, in some cases it's actually also not the worst idea if you get a good 1 and 2 already. As for on the coin, here I wouldn't be a stranger to keeping things like Fly off the shelves as well. Narrowlex becomes a bit more keepable as well. The rest is still cheap dragons and such. Here's all the different iterations of Zarimi Priest you could be going through, but as you saw, Fishing Priest is also nothing to scoff at, especially in the matchup against Zarimi, but it's nowhere near as consistent against the other matchups, so there's that too, sitting at 55 with 1500 games. Still not bad. Imbue Priest is still absolute dog water, so probably stay away from that one. Next up we have Big Demon Hunter, and yeah, this deck is actually super good. It's not actually even that expensive, and you could even build it cheaper, because technically Mecterodon and Shaldrasil are not exactly integral to this deck, and you could instead opt for something like the Ferocious, whatever the hell that demon 7-drop is called. And yeah, again, I do have a detailed guide about this one with a coaching session, so you can definitely take a look at that one and see if this deck sparks joy for you. The deck is super annoying to play against because you do have a lot of early game removals in this one, as well as a lot of chip damage with the help of Ballhog, which also heals you a lot, so it's very disgusting to be playing against. This particular variant is also ranked things like Dangerous Cliffside, which is kinda cool, even though it's, in my opinion, not that amazing, but the stats speak for themselves. We have different iterations that are running a couple of Immolation Auras, which definitely feel good against board-centric matchups, so if you're seeing too many of those, you might consider that. But yeah, all around, in the first few turns, you're trying to draw a bunch of cards. On turn 4, you drop the Ballhog. On turn 5, you drop Ravenous Fellhunter. On turn 6, if all goes according to plan, and if you already have a weapon equipped, Cliff Dive would be pretty MVP, so you can actually slap face if you get lucky with an Illidari. Shaldrasil gets corrupted if you manage to play an Illidari or a Mecterodon from your hand, and so on and so forth. The deck is really strong, and it's not that hard to pilot well either. For the matchups, we can see that things like Handbuff Death Knight are actually gonna be a monster of a deck against you, and some of the warriors are also actually in the red, but everything else looks pretty doable for you, or actually pretty favored. Going first and second for that matter, the weapon is always gonna be MVP, Grim Harvest ain't bad, Wyvern Slumber is pretty cute, Ballhog, especially if you don't have the Tusk Piercer already. Cliff Dive is also pretty nice, especially if you're curving into it. Chaos Truck's okay, Illidari Studies could be okay, the rest probably not so much. On the coin, the stats show literally the same thing, so keep that in mind. Other good Demon Hunter decks would be Menagerie Demon Hunter of all things. I guess everything Menagerie does have an iteration of a deck for the most classes right now. We can also see several different iterations of Big Demon Hunter. Some Pain Demon Hunters are also out there, and Crew Demon Hunter is also somewhat decent, but nowhere near as good as Big Demon Hunter. And on the last spot we have Bounce Protoss Rogue, which is actually not doing that amazing from Diamond to Legend, but I am including it because there's not a real 5th best deck from Diamond to Legend, but this deck is actually amazing in top 1000 Legend. So what this means is this deck is actually super good if you know how to play it well. I will be giving you a guide about a deck similar to this one really soon, so be on the lookout for that one tomorrow. But yeah, this deck is not very simple, especially since it has Sonya in here. So you definitely need to know what you're doing in this one if you want to get good results. What this deck does in the early turns is it has quite a good tempo curve with things like Harbinger, which you could either be Shadow Stepping or Web of Deception, especially if you got a prep. That would be absolutely amazing. Like imagine turn 1 coin Harbinger prep Web of Deception, and that's a 4/4 plus a couple of 2-drops. Literally on turn 1, that can be absolutely brutal. We have Twisted Webweaver in here, which is also pretty cool. It could be a nice little turn 1 play for you, and if you don't want to be doing that early on, you could be saving it for a lot of card draw later on. Again, with the help of things like Shadow Step or just playing the second copy of a card could be pretty good. But don't forget, this only works for minions, so don't expect coins or something stupid like that to be working. I'm saying this because I expected it the first time I played it. We have a couple of Photon Cannons here helping you discount your Templars nice and quick. And something to take note of is, if you want to be abusing Sonya in the matchup, you can't really be using one Photon Cannon but not the second one. Or you don't want to be using Artanis plus a Photon Cannon. The reason behind that is, if you actually do something like that, the normal combo with Sonya would be involving the 1-mana Scoundrel. So if you actually do discount with Photon Cannon and with Artanis, that makes the Templars down to 3 mana. And in that case, with the Scoundrel discounting by 3, you no longer actually get copies with the help of Sonya, because they're gonna be zeros, they're not gonna be 1. On the other hand, you could be doing something different on that turn instead. It's not gonna be as much damage, but it's still gonna be pretty decent. What you could be doing is, if you've discounted, let's say, once with a photon cannon and with an Artanis, that again brings the Templar down to 3. What you could do is play the Templar down to 3 mana on the board and actually Shadow Step it discounted by 2, and this way you do indeed actually get yourself a 1 mana idiot to combo off with Sonya for later. So that could be an alternative plan for you if you want to be getting extra Archons this way. I told you the deck is a little bit complicated. Web of Deception, perfect on things like Harbinger of the Blight, but you could also be using it on other things if it fits the bill. It's not only used on this thing. You could even use it turn 1 Twisted, on turn 2 you do the Web, and you still get a turn 2 4/4. Not the worst thing in the world, even in today's day and age. We have the Metal Detectors. Robocolor draws a lot, and you are gonna have to check what he's drawing each turn. And you could be pretty precise with the cards you will be getting. The Void Rays are as good as ever. Dubious Purchase, especially with a prep, could be super good. We also have Grifta in here, so that can be kind of cool. Again, you could be getting extra copies with the help of Scoundrel if the game goes that route. Sonya, super broken still if you know how to pull it off. The Scoundrels, like, you usually want to play the 5 mana guy just to play something silly like a 0 mana Void Ray. That would be pretty amazing tempo play even on turn 4. Just don't be a dumbass and play this guy into coin 4-drop. It's not gonna do what you want it to do. If you're gonna be doing that, please play coin and then the 5 mana Scoundrel, and then you are gonna actually get the discount, because if you do it the other way around, the coin eats your discount. I know it sounds dumb, but I'm pretty sure some of you have done that. We also have both the Dark Templar and the High Templar, 2 copies of each, so it is a little bit on the greedy side, but it is kind of cool. And what we don't have in this one is the 5 mana draw 2 Protoss cards anymore, because apparently at 5 mana it's not super good, even though I have seen variants with it still, and they're still pretty decent, honestly. We even have Shell Drusillin here, which does get corrupted by with the help of Artanis, but even if it doesn't get corrupted, this can still be pretty awesome, because you do get a 0 mana +4/+4 for your chargers out of Artanis later, so that can also be pretty cash money for you. Matchup wise, here's what we have. Demon Hunters are not gonna be great, some of the Death Knights also, but the rest looks pretty solid, and this deck is really gonna do amazingly well for you if you know how to play it. Like I said, you would be doing pretty good against Zarumi Priest, so if you're sick of those, this is the deck for you if you're up for the challenge. Mulligan wise, going first and second, the Harbinger is always going to be MVP, same with the Twisted. Robocolor is acceptable, especially if you curve into it. Metal Detector is pretty nice. Shadow Step would be MVP, especially if you have Harbinger. Same can be said for Web of Deception, and even Prep could make the cut. And if you do have a Prep, you could even consider Dubious Purchase in some cases. On the coin, however, the situation does not differ all that much. So again, be smart about what you want to be mulliganing. For other good rogue decks, we can also see things like Ashmane Rogue doing quite well, several different iterations of Bounce Rogue, and this right now is close to what I showed you for the rogue deck, and as you see, it's sitting at 55.4 in Diamond to Legend for the last 3 days, 2300 games, whereas in Top Legend, Top 1000 that is, we can see several different iterations of Bounce Rogue. Small sample size, true, but in Top Legend you can't really be asking for much more than that. So I think this is the one I'm showing you, which is basically kind of close to this one as well, but yeah, this is the one I'm showing you. And I think somebody even reached Top 1 Legend with this thing, so the deck is definitely very capable. For the classes we haven't mentioned, starting off with Druid, technically I could have included Imbue Druid in this top 5, because it is indeed quite the good deck from Diamond to Legend. Good sample size, good win rate, and definitely not too hard, but I already showed you a couple of guides about Imbue Druid from not too long ago, so just check those out and see if you like the deck for yourself. It's definitely pretty decent, and as you see, pretty good for climbing to Legend. We have several other iterations of Imbue Druid, all working decently well, but nothing in the 60s, so there's that. With Hunter, we have Buff Hunter, apparently the best for the class, with not that big a sample size, however. Zerg Token Hunter actually has a very big sample size, very okay win rate, nothing to write home about really, but it's doable. Token Hunter has seen better days, so there's that. This is a menagerie build. And Imbue Hunter is not the monster of a deck I expected it to be, but it was definitely showing a lot of promise if the meta actually remained as slow as it was before the nerf of Armor Demon Hunter. For Mage, Protoss Mage seems to be at the top of the naughty list, even though some of the higher legend players are enjoying Spell Mage a little bit more than that. But it is quite the chaotic deck, a lot of random stuff happens in that one, so I don't know how consistent it is really. The stats definitely do not support it much, so you could be going for Protoss Mage, Protoss Imbue Mage, straight up Spell Mage. And that's about it, I'd say. For shamans, there is this new asteroid shaman that's not absolute ass apparently, whereas things like evolve shaman and such are really not doing all that swell, and look how they massacred my boy. Terran shaman is nowhere to be seen in the good decks anymore. For warlocks, Wheel Warlock has been somewhat okay. A lot of people are swearing that this is a good deck, but the stats really don't show for that. Maybe it has super high skill cap, but I'm not seeing much of it in Legend either, so there's that too. And lastly we have Warrior with control-ish. Terran Warriors being the best right now, but best really is not how you could be describing 52% win rate, so there's that too. So yeah, Warrior definitely has been seeing better days. So that's gonna be it for this top 5, guys. Hope this helps you figure out what you want to be playing for Easy Legend until the new mini set comes soon. Don't forget you can join my giveaway by downloading Raid from my download link. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.